Chris and Cassie with SONday Chronicles. This is episode 22. We entitled this one Deception and the Decepticons.
Let's see what we have on the agenda.
Nice.
This paper is empty.
Uh-huh. All right.
You see that?
I did see that. It's a good little shout out there. So, deception. Let's just start with the definition of deception. How's that?
How's that?
All right. So, deception is to deceive someone. So, what does deceive mean? Deceive is when a person causes someone to believe something that is not true, typically in order to gain some personal advantage. So, just based on that definition, we're going to be talking a lot about control, taking advantage, what deception has done in our lives and what we see it do to others and that type of thing. So here we go.
Okay. Say the definition one more time.
To deceive someone is when a person causes someone to believe something that is not true, typically in order to gain some personal advantage.
Why would someone do that to somebody?
Because they think that they can control, and because they can't control themselves or things going on around them, maybe. Why do you think?
No, I think that's part of it.
It's because they're not in touch with themselves, I'm sure, because...
Why would someone want to control someone else?
Ego?
But I mean, think about that. That is a scary... Not having control over yourself. I wonder how many people are being deceived without even knowing it. We'll probably touch on that sometime.
Well, this whole world's built on deception.
Religious perception or deception, cultural deception, political deception.
I don't think you can really get anywhere in your life right now without experiencing deception. I mean, whether it be in the workplace, personal, political.
Self-deception.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I think we all deceive ourselves at some point in time, and if we always say become aware of yourself, so if you become aware of yourself, you'll be aware of where you're deceiving yourself.
I think that's a really important point, because when you say self-deception, I think of how kind of makes me think of happiness and kind of robbing yourself from your own happiness in a way.
You're robbing yourself from yourself.
And most people want to run from themselves, so
you're robbing yourself from yourself.
I guess, yeah.
Or you're deceiving yourself from your higher self.
Yeah, and it is. Well, no, a person causes. So let's say if it's personal deception, that's saying, for example, let's say it was me deceiving myself. Based on the definition, I'm causing myself to believe something that is not true in order to gain some personal advantage. Oh. Whoa, so that's what happens when people call you.
Stop
Got a
calling.
phone call. Sorry. But okay. So we're saying, so when you deceive yourself, you are causing yourself to believe something that isn't true for what you believe is some sort of personal advantage. So let's kind of think about that. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that is a very interesting way. I didn't even know it was going to go this route. So self-deception, belief system. If you have a belief system, I think let's use religion for example. If it is a belief system that teaches
like a very structured
to hate others that aren't like you, you hear a lot about that.
Or just social groups that cause you to do that. Same
Cultural,
thing.
social groups, political groups. We see that bright and shiny. The political groups, there's two, one is this, one is that, but they're both part of the same bird. Full of deception.
But let's
and
get back
control.
to the self-deception.
Deception. I'm saying that belief systems goes. That's where you're deceiving
telling yourself
yourself.
Something that you think is for personal advantage, maybe for your ego. I feel like maybe your personal advantage, your ego is telling you that this is what your it's all about power. With an ego, it's all about power and control and that type of thing. So I think I know that makes sense. I just can't put it together.
Yeah, no, we'll put
So
it.
something to think about.
So how did this get inspired? How did deception get inspired?
Yeah, Chris mentioned this when I got home from work today, just a few hours ago, and was like, "Hey, I want to do a talk about deception," which it's very relevant not only in your life but in my life too.
Yeah.
In different places.
Everybody, you can't go anywhere without seeing deception. And that's why I think it was something.
And you can see people who are deceiving. I observe them to be in a lot of pain. Like, you can see that they're, day in and day out. It's hard to watch but it's self-inflicted pain.
Yeah, we all are causing our own suffering. So that self-deception is a big one. It was a lot. We're going to come back to self-deception.
That's a very interesting thought.
Actually, the scenario, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a scenario of
may or may not be true.
That may or may not be true, but how I'm going to just get right into it.
This is what inspired
this
the
is what
deception
inspired deception. So you have character A. Character A. Traits of character A. Help me.
What I've observed about
what you've observed about character A. Give me some words that associate with
Is this
character A.
Is this a more negative character?
Some more negative,
okay.
A more selfish character.
So what I've observed from this character A that we're discussing is ungrateful. Things that I've observed when I look at this person.
Based on the actions.
Yes, based on actions, my observation of the actions that have occurred. Ungrateful,
may or may
bitter.
not be true.
I don't know if I win. That was embarrassing what I just did.
Bitter.
Ungrateful, sad.
Very angry.
Very angry, so emotional turmoil is kind of going on.
That character, and we're not talking about Donald Trump.
Surprise. Very similar.
Yeah, very similar.
As far as personal pain goes.
Yeah, personal and self-inflicted pain.
Yeah.
So,
selfish,
and then we have character B,
greedy.
Who, like we talked about last episode, has made the steps to travel from the head to the heart, but can't do it because of attachments, belief systems, and it just can't. You just can't. And you're seeing this constant
battle,
sway, which is badass. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
seeking
seeking is
to let go of years of attachment.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about almost a half century.
So what we're saying, character A, we have greedy. We have someone we observe to be
bitter.
Greedy, bitter,
bittersweet.
Bitter, no. Ungrateful. And then we have character B, who is self-working,
who's sweet,
and is just going through a lot, but
working on facing fears,
but kind of always going backwards.
Yeah,
kind of always gets away. She focuses on self and then gets pulled back in. So continue on. So we have these two complete opposite characters that we are discussing.
But they're part of the story. And let's use, for the third character, let's just use me because I'm the narrator.
Okay.
So I'll be the third character. This particular situation, one is deceiving. Let's say character A, there's no contact with at all.
Okay, so character A, let's just say bitter.
No, bitter.
Character A, bitter.
Complete.
Character A, bitter.
Yeah.
No contact. You have had contact with character B, who's sweet and working on themselves.
Yes, periodically.
Okay.
Character B feels obligation for specific things, and wanted to go behind character A's, or deceive character A by communicating with me, but not letting character A know. We'll just leave it at that.
So you have a character A who has been performing deception, being deceptive to character B, probably for their entirety of knowing each other.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, character C here, Chris,
Character C
is faced with someone now, the sweet, doing deception the same.
And so that deception, that's where it started.
In order to protect, we had to do code names, but hopefully that kind of, you get the idea.
Yeah,
so continue on.
There
so brought up deception.
So this was a deception. I'm witnessing deception, and part of me's like, well, I can understand it, and then the other part of me has seen character B.
But when is deception, if you think about the world, deception's never okay.
Yeah, and
no matter what form it's
in. My heart, my feeling was,
I feel that it's never okay.
This was a gift, and that gift, let's say it was money, and so character B was going to gift money. Character A
didn't know.
Had no clue. If character A knew, it would be a fucking World War III type thing between them two, blah, blah, blah. So there lies the deception. And if I accepted the gift of money,
it'd be based on deception.
It would be full of deception. So I made the decision not to accept the gift of money. And what it's going to do is, in turn, it's like not accepting someone's anger. If someone is angry at you for no particular reason, or for whatever reason they've justified,
the best thing you can do is
not
put that
accept
back on them.
it. Yeah, not to forgive them and not accept it, and let that anger kind of eat at them.
It's almost liberating, I think, and it takes that. Because we all know when we get angry or we're in kind of a heated discussion of some sort, whether it's
somebody else wants to prove something,
whether it be coming at you or maybe you're part of it, that feeling of anxiety and heat within your body is uncomfortable because it's anger. But the moment you put anger back on them by saying a few short words, as far as you just shut down the conversation, not even in a negative way, that feeling lifts. It's liberating. You're like, oh, I can actually control my reaction to someone else.
By not accepting the anger, and by not accepting in this particular situation, what I've in turn do is help character B face a fear. Because character B...
Which is character B facing character A.
Yeah.
So we're kind of jumping back to that story.
There lies the root issue. And, man, it was a trip, deception in many ways. And because of that, you don't belong in the middle of a deceptive scenario. So my thing is the best thing that I can do. We talked about hell being here, living, operating out of that, traveling down, and then eventually people create their own hell. And any one of us can make a conscious decision to remove ourselves from that particular situation.
It's something that takes work, I think.
Yeah. The more you go in, the more you're going to understand, that thing.
So we kind of jumped around there a bit, but deception.
Just wrap it up. Character A, character B, because of my not accepting that deception, that gift of deception, left character B to face the fear and go to character A and solve that.
And remove the deception.
I've deemed it perpetual deception. Does that sound right? Perpetual meaning ongoing?
I think a lot of people get in that situation if you're covering a lie or something and you're lying. I mean, I see it every day.
Yeah,
if you're living a lie, that double life.
Yeah.
I actually thought about that today from that Caged Elephant song, Cold, Cold, Cold. They talk about how much, I forget what he says, but you hear stuff all the time, double life, this, that, and the other. I think that is, perpetual. I mean, you get in this pattern.
It's a perpetual deception.
Look at our world. Look at the said leaders of this world. It's full of deception. This matrix that we're all in, I'm not going to go too far from the tangent.
I'm not in it.
Hopefully, there's this matrix that is...
I am the glitch in the matrix.
you're missing the point. The the matrix that is part of this world is full of deception and put in place to control, because by deceiving someone you have a false sense of control, I think, because
there's fucking control everywhere. Everybody wants to control everyone. Ugh.
It's really bizarre if you stop to
It's
think
like
about
fucking
control.
Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
Everybody has that trip of
Well, it goes back to
deception, wanting to control.
That makes me think
Do they need friends that bad?
It goes back to one of our first talks was about agendas. There's selfless and selfish agendas, and I think that kind of goes with to talk about that again. If you're operating from your mind and you're deceiving others, you're doing things selfishly to try for your own personal gain, you have a selfish agenda versus the opposite, which is selfless,
bettering the human condition.
Because you're operating from your heart, and that's what will happen when you operate from your heart. I feel that you will live a purposeful. You will find your purpose, and you will help humanity. I think that's
in some form or fashion.
In some form or fashion.
You ever hear about that guy who he quit his corporate job, blah blah blah, and moved to some badass ocean, started selling hot dogs, and ended up becoming a multi-millionaire? It's just like that dude followed his heart, and he lives now on a beach.
See, and that's all it is when we say this purpose to help humanity.
Making people happy on the boardwalk when they're drunk. I'm serious. That's a purpose,
and if you're following your heart, I think.
Yeah.
But,
and he followed it, and he was successful. And then it goes to our purpose, different purposes. Everyone has one, and
as always, challenge yourself to find your purpose. That's something. If you're like, well, I don't even know, I never thought about it, because I know I didn't think about it for a long time, or nothing called to me, and then all of a sudden, you kind of look within and you figure out, oh, this feels like what I'm supposed to be doing.
It's that shit that you want to do, but
maybe
if
you're
you
worried
do
about
it,
what others
everybody's
will
going to
think.
think that you're a loony. And
that's probably your heart.
That's
purpose.
I guarantee that's
your God-given purpose,
yeah.
which leads us into something else.
And
what do you think about God-given purpose? There's a saying of that you brought up about God's will.
I broke this down even further into religion. I always like to talk about the religion aspect of everything. The religious deception, and this is something all y'all know if you've watched a video.
Well, I'm so sorry, but I just feel like this is really important before we get into God's will. Religious deception. I mean, the fact that there's books taken out of the Bible that is preached from, that's deception.
Yeah.
Telling you that there's what is it? How many books? 14 or 100?
24, something like
taken
removed.
out. Yeah. Taken out of the Bible. That's deception. So that's kind of why we get so passionate about it. I think.
Everybody dogs the Bible. It's a cool book. The Bible still says,
it talks about deception.
Fight the good fight, baby.
Yeah.
And I just don't think people either know how to read anymore or they don't read.
They choose not to because it's all told to them.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen.
It's deceived.
It's from someone's personal point of view.
So many people they hide behind a cross and because they are deceived. If they really read the Bible, they wouldn't be assholes. I'm sorry, but if that bothers you, then go read the Bible and fight the good fight.
And again, we only say all this from our personal experience.
This is my personal experience, so...
And I'm sure, and we like to share our personal experiences because I know there's other people out there
Well, I've lived my personal experience because it's part of my purpose. I needed to know these things. I needed to get, like we talked about last week, I needed to get, come into this world divine and get thrown into a tough situation because that tough situation has ultimately made me who I am today, and for that I am grateful.
But back to God's will. So that was my fault for...
Yeah, the Christian religion, when you ask... I've asked a number of Christians, so we get into purpose, because I always I think if all of us realize our purpose at once, like if I could snap my fingers, this would be awesome. Everybody would be doing what they love. But that's what we're actually helping and working with. But I get the generic response.
I have my glasses on. Dacha, thank you for your comment. That's very sweet.
Oh,
I just don't have my glasses, so I'm interrupting and squinting. Sorry.
Dasha has one of my paintings.
What?
Yeah. She's a photographer. She lives in Colorado. She's
That's
beautiful.
so badass.
Yeah. Hi, Dasha. Yeah, she has one of my paintings, and I'm going to go on a whim and say it was 10 years ago.
Cool.
Yep. So.
Well, anyways, I just thank you. It's a very sweet comment. Okay, continue
yeah,
on.
So I get the generic answer of God's will, and I'm like, okay, that's great. That's what we're all, And
when you stop and think about, because I asked Chris when he brought this up, well, what is God's will to you? What does that mean? Is that really
I think
your
God's will
purpose?
for me is sun, mind, and body, and everything that's going to go along with it.
Okay, so
think
when people say,
yeah, I think if you just took it a step further, I mean, Christ was that's what the Christian religion is based off of. I ain't dogging Christianity. I'm just saying, if you read the book, you're going to fight the good fight, and it won't be this religious deception. There won't be if you just go with the Bible. And
the current Pope is trying to relieve that deception.
The current Pope,
for sure.
I made this.
You made that prediction.
I made that. It was almost a year ago, or I said this guy is going to introduce the Gnostics. He's going to, and he's getting flack from a lot of the conservative brethren
because the truth is going to come out.
Yeah, because he's this new Pope is a badass.
Not just to be a Pope, it's to bring the truth, and I think that's beautiful.
It's to get rid of that.
Oh no, it's the dog.
to get rid of the that last guy. Yeah, that last guy. So,
okay, so
anyways, we love the new Pope.
But the whole thing with God's will is Chris's
point
was if you just say God's will,
God's will is
cool,
kind of. It's like, okay.
It's kind of a blanket statement.
My idea was, I was like, okay, so when you tell me God's will, and you haven't made that trip to your heart and found your purpose,
it does seem very repetitive.
Is your purpose kind of a selfish agenda? Because you can't get selfless unless you make that journey, and then once you get there, so if you're operating there's this misconception of I'm going to take my selfish agenda and call it God's will and be cool. And man,
and be blessed.
And be saved by grace. Yeah. Be able to be an asshole, that whole thing. I think that's where this modern day mindset
I think when I've heard people say God's will, I think sometimes I see you feel the sweetness with it.
Yeah.
But then you also I also have felt it's God's will. Well, it's God's will for this to happen. I think sometimes that's just what they've been told. Well, you're going to do what's God's will. So I think it's different for everybody. Yeah. I don't think there's a problem with saying it. I
don't think there's a problem saying it, but if you're behind that as a selfish agenda only about yourself,
and you believe you're doing God's
and fucking everybody else over, and
everyone
your front,
has their
that's
own
a
perception,
front. Yeah.
So they may think that God's will, they just might be confused. I don't know, but
anyways,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's just something to kind of chew on, man.
Yeah, think about it. I don't know.
And give us some feedback if you like it or you hate it.
We like both responses. It's
cool. We don't care.
Yeah, we really pretty easy going. All right. Well, what else should we talk about with deception? We hit on political. It's all around us. The
cultural
world is,
deception.
It's cultural deception that Christopher Columbus came in. It's great. And then Thanksgiving. I almost threw up when I saw pilgrim stuff out in this peaceful scene with Native Americans. I'm like, that's not real. That's deception. History books are full of deception.
Yeah, I mean,
in my
opinion. The real is coming. And it's coming in all forms. Everything.
When it comes to anything if our world is full of deception, I think I was always.
How do you get past it?
That's what I was actually going to go into. Again, personal experience. Deception, you see it all around you. You just start asking your own questions, and when you don't get the answers from others, you start to get frustrated. So you start looking on your own because you go to church maybe. And you don't get a response that you wanted. You go to a psychiatrist, you don't get the response that you wanted, whatever it may be. So you start digging yourself and looking within.
Yeah.
Because when you start seeing, okay, I kind of think that's where I started looking into things myself was something doesn't feel right. So you start doing your own research about history. You start in pieces. Your heart doesn't lie. You know the
It's
truth.
that gut feeling.
You know the truth by the way it feels.
You know the truth by the way it feels.
And then when you start seeing, okay, everything I've kind of been told is a lie, or I've been deceived, I think you naturally start looking within, because it's like, okay, I know the answers.
You know what the trip is?
I know the answers.
Imagine not having a clue that you don't have a clue. That's where the indoctrination, and people, you just don't know.
And that's where compassion comes in.
Fuck yeah.
If you are aware of this deception happening, but people are raised
you're gonna
up.
have to work on that compassion.
Yeah,
it takes a while.
Well, people are raised up in certain situations.
First, you're gonna be angry.
People are raised up in certain situations, and they don't know any different. And so that's where compassion comes in. That's a really tough thing to practice. You look at someone like Donald Trump. We have learned to have compassion for that person because the way he was raised and everything given to him. It is so difficult, though, because some days, as we all know, we're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this can't be real.
It's
but
funny.
We've unattached ourselves.
And don't
to
give me. I'm not for that. I'm not for him at all. I think he's a complete asshole.
Oh,
but
no, there is not one ounce of me that supports that person.
I have compassion because it's like you almost feel sorry for the dude. You know, and as it continues to go.
But practicing compassion is really important when you learn about deception, because
having
people don't know.
Have compassion, self-compassion, man. That feels good.
That's a big thing we talked about before, too, is self-forgiveness. I think it kind of goes along with that. Be aware. If you're aware that you've been deceiving yourself, maybe saying, you know, when I say self-deception, or when we say that, I think you just know without even me explaining it. Like, you know what that is, because you've deceived yourself or are deceiving yourself.
Yeah.
And we've all been there or are there, and so you have to forgive yourself for that, because it's okay. I think that's a big step.
Forgive it and leave it, man.
Let it go and just move on.
Fuck it.
Better yourself. Like, let it go. That's the best thing, and just continue to work on you.
Yeah. Beautifully put, my love.
Oh, sorry. I mean, thanks. Anything else?
That's it.
Cool. Thank you, as always, for listening to us, and
Alabama.
oh